Shalom. Praise to Yahweh, Bashem Yahushua, Bashem Kadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Most Honor Rule One. Shalom to the brothers doing the work of Syrian truth, pushing this word to the four corners. Yeah, you kind of had this situation in Syria just like blow up out of nowhere, and it kind of feels like a lot of sparks being lit before you have Trump coming into office, to where it's, there's going to be a shift and in the dynamic of how things are done, because you had in what do you call it, in Lebanon, what was meant to be the peace treaty, and then Biden give the green light for Ukraine to use US and then the UK as well. They gave the green light to use their missiles to fire into Russia, and like that resulted in an escalation with them using the Oreshnik, the hypersonic missile, to back into Ukraine. And the Lebanon peace treaty, that was they're making a big fuss, but then that shit was scrambled pretty much immediately. But now you've had like Syria situation you ain't really heard anything about for a matter of years, but then all of a sudden out of nowhere these guys are just coming back and have got to the to where the government's at. That's like man getting to the heart of government, in one attack. That's crazy. So it says, this is on The Guardian. It says Syrian militants reach central Aleppo as government forces appear to retreat. Surprise offensive by rebels marks biggest challenge to Bashar al-Assad's control in years. Islamist rebels, once exiled to a mountainous pocket of the Syrian desert, now roam the streets of central Aleppo, taking pictures below its ancient citadel and tearing down symbols of President Bashar al-Assad's rule. The surprise offensive, in which insurgents seized territory across northwest Syria, appears to have dramatically shifted the balance of power in Aleppo and marks the biggest challenge to Assad's control in years. So yeah, these men were in caves, in mountains, and then just materialized and came and smashed up onto, to where the government's based at, which just don't even make sense when you hear it. But then that's kind of it feels like obviously they've had outside help to make this capable, and Syria's a known ally of what you call it, of Russia and Iran, which is the focal point of of these conflicts. It says what fighters from militant Islamist group Hayat Tahrir al-Sham seized much of the city in a sudden rout of Syrian army forces. A reporter with opposition news channel Aleppo Today showed uniformed militants in an empty central plaza. A man who said the fighters had freed him from prison wept on camera. Footage showed people tearing down a statue of Bashar al-Assad, the brother of Syria's ruler, from atop a figure of a horse, to the sound of celebratory gunfire. Turkey's Anadolu news agency said Syrian forces withdrew from central key locations, including the civilian airport, shuttering it before ceding control to Kurdish military groups as Islamist insurgents closed in. So yeah, it's they withdrew from key locations. So you'd almost think like they knew ahead of time. This is a weird fucking situation. So it says forces spearheaded by HTS also seized an important military base to the south while taking control of Sarakib, a strategic location on the highway to the capital, Damascus. Turkish-backed Syrian rebels launched their own operation against Kurdish militants and Syrian government forces in an attempt to seize a military airport to the east of Aleppo. So they've been working with Turkey and whatnot. which them man, the Turkey Syria border, them man have been going at for the longest, man. I think it was like the earthquake was the only thing that really slowed that down, but they've more or less been on it for a minute. So I said the sweeping offensive appeared to take forces loyal to Assad by surprise, as well as his longtime backers in Moscow and Tehran. Iran's Tasnim news network said the Syrian military general command continued to fight insurgents in Aleppo amid reports of both Russian and Syrian airstrikes around the city. So if they're still doing airstrikes, I think Russia's been the only nation that's basically been invited to, help fight off the militants. That's why they can do airstrikes. But even then, with them able to do airstrikes, how in the fuck they just came in there and just swept through and just decimated everything is fucking insane. So I said, what the Syrian military said: overwhelming numbers of fighters and the multiplicity of battlefronts prompted our armed forces to carry out a redeployment operation aimed at strengthening the defense lines in order to absorb the attack, preserve the life of civilians and soldiers, and prepare for a counterattack. So they might even, flip it. I'm expecting it to be flipped. I don't know. The situation sounds. I don't know about how these guys are just up in mountains, eating rocks, and then all of a sudden they come out and they sweep through. Like, there's got to be some form of aid going through. Someone's giving them a hand. It says Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov called the situation in Aleppo an attack on Syrian sovereignty. We are in favor of the Syrian authorities bringing order to the area. So the sudden insurgent victory in Aleppo symbolized a dramatic shift in control of key urban centers in Syria and an unexpected challenge to its president, long seen as having crushed the uprising against him. Assad's fractured control of Syria had appeared secure enough. These former regional foes, notably Saudi Arabia, had begun to re-establish diplomatic relations with Damascus. That's what I'm saying. It's like that shit was resolved a while back. And it's really just Turkey. And they're after them Kurds. Them man want to annihilate them Kurds off the face of the earth. Force control of 2016. But yeah, it would. Well, it says it there. It says Syrian regime forces seized full control of Aleppo in 2016, relying heavily on Russian air power and Iranian military support to wrestle the country's former industrial center back under Assad's control. So it's basically seems like they've been supported to distract from Iran and Russia. What they could what they instead would be focusing, which is like the Ukraine-Russia war and then what's going down in the Middle East. Seems like it's just trying to split focus, because this shit this is funky as hell. But then that's say this Ecclesiasticus 12:10 says, "What never trust thine enemy, for like as iron rusteth, so is his wickedness. Though he humble himself and go crouching, yet take good heed and beware of him. And thou shalt be unto him as if thou hadst wiped a looking glass, and thou shalt know these rust have not been altogether wiped away." So yeah, never trust thine enemy, because all these different relationships is based on self-interest, and it's really if you're dealing with Esau, man, this guy's underhanded, under the table, with these different countries where it's like, oh, they might try and extend a helping hand. It's basically to be used to to your own to your own benefit, to their own benefit. Because these rebel guys that just materialize from the ether, they've probably got American EU backers, Western backers. Could even be like Saudi Arabia or something doing it on behalf of them, to just kind of give them the means to go back and kick up a fuss. But then they're still being used. All these things are they're tools in the grander scheme of things, and tools to achieve what for the plans of the elites to come to fruition. That's really what they're going to be utilized for. Whatever kind of noble cause these guys think they have, it's all gonna culminate in a greater warming, because it's tied down to prophecy. Joel 3:9, what does it say? Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears, let the weak say I am strong. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord Jehovah. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. So it's about all the heathen being drawn into that conflict. And that's why you have, these sides being funded and basically supplied to just come and all of a sudden just coming through into the capital, which is fucking insane. But that's how these things maneuver, man. That's how you deal with Esau. They'll say like, oh, okay, we'll fund this, we'll do this, but it's through the course of time, all these different Middle Eastern countries that now are fucked. You go back to like the 80s or 70s, over the course of the Cold War, it was basically one side or the other, fucking with them to try and get power over, the Soviets trying to get power over the US and vice versa. Now it's the same thing, just Russia and the US, man, their interests. But, above all that is prophecy, man. Yahweh Hashem Yahshua Hashem Harakah Kadash. So yeah, I'll leave you there. Shalom. Shalom.